The arrival of the unknown. In the vast expanse of space, where stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against a velvet backdrop, lay the tranquil planet of Zoreth. Known for its vibrant flora and fauna, Zoreth was home to an advanced civilization that thrived on harmony and laughter. The Zorethians were beings of light, with skin that shimmered in hues of blue and green, reflecting their peaceful nature. Their society was built on creativity, curiosity, and an unwavering belief in coexistence. A day like any other. On this particular day, the sun bathed the lush landscapes in golden light as Zorethians went about their daily routines. They laughed freely, sharing stories and art that celebrated life's beauty. Children played in fields filled with flowers that changed colors with every giggle, while adults engaged in spirited debates about philosophy and science. Laughter echoed through the air, a melody that defined their existence. But amid this joy, something stirred in the cosmos. A faint signal flickered through the vastness, barely noticeable yet insistent. It was a distress call from a neighboring planet, one that had long been considered desolate and uninhabitable. The Zorethian Council convened urgently, sensing an unusual gravity in this unexpected plea for help. The Council's decision: why would anyone be calling us from that forsaken rock? Elder Thelos pondered aloud, his voice tinged with concern as he peered at the holographic display showing the coordinates of the signal. Elder Mira, known for her wisdom, replied thoughtfully, "Perhaps there is more to this situation than we realize. We cannot ignore it." The council deliberated intensely. After much discussion, they decided to send an exploratory team aboard their flagship, Celestial Harmony. Captain Lyra Ven was chosen for this mission, a brave leader known for her quick thinking and compassionate heart. "Prepare your crew," Elder Mira instructed Lyra. "We must find out who is in distress and offer our assistance." Setting off into uncertainty. As Lyra gathered her team, scientists, engineers, and diplomats, excitement mingled with apprehension. They were venturing into unknown territory, leaving behind their peaceful home for what could be danger or disaster. Yet they were driven by an innate desire to help those in need. "Let's make sure we're ready for anything," Lyra said as she briefed her crew on their mission objectives. "We don't know what we'll find out there." With engines humming softly beneath them, Celestial Harmony lifted off from Zoreth's surface, leaving behind a world filled with laughter for one shrouded in mystery, a planet in ruins. As they approached the coordinates of the distress signal, an eerie silence enveloped them. The once thriving planet appeared desolate, its surface marred by craters and signs of devastation. Lyra's heart sank as she surveyed the landscape through the ship's viewport. "Activate scanners," she ordered. "Let's see if we can pinpoint the source of that signal." The crew worked diligently at their stations as data streamed across screens. They soon discovered remnants of structures, once homes now reduced to rubble, and signs of life that had long since faded away. "Captain," one of her engineers called out hesitantly, "we're detecting faint energy signatures, but they're unlike anything we've encountered before." "What do you mean?" Lyra asked sharply. "It seems human," he replied slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. The realization sets in. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine at his words. Humans, an enigmatic species known for both their ingenuity and propensity for conflict. She had read about them, but had never imagined encountering them firsthand. Could they still be alive? She wondered aloud. "We should investigate further," another crew member suggested cautiously. With determination set in her heart, Lyra made her decision. "Prepare a landing party. We need to find out what happened here." As Celestial Harmony descended onto the barren surface, Lyra couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling, a premonition that whatever lay ahead would change everything they knew about themselves and humanity. A new chapter begins. As they disembarked onto the cracked ground littered with debris, Lyra felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility wash over her. They had come seeking answers but might find something far more complex than mere curiosity could unravel. With each step into this forsaken land, She sensed that laughter had been replaced by fear, a fear that would soon intertwine with their own fate as they ventured deeper into humanity's legacy. Little did they know that this journey would not only challenge their understanding, but also ignite a spark within them, a spark that would lead them toward an unexpected confrontation with fear itself. The echoes of laughter from Zorath felt distant now as they prepared to face whatever awaited them on this desolate planet, a world where humanity's shadows loomed large over everything they held dear. The distress signal. As celestial harmony settled onto the surface of the desolate planet, Captain Lyra Ven felt a weight in her chest. The air was thick with silence, an unsettling contrast to the vibrant life of Zorath. Her crew, usually filled with laughter and light-hearted banter, now moved with a sense of urgency and trepidation. They had come to help, but the eerie stillness suggested that help might be needed for more than just the distress signal. The search begins. Let's split into teams, Lyra instructed, her voice steady despite the unease creeping into her mind. We need to locate the source of that signal and assess any survivors. The crew nodded, their expressions serious. Lyra led one team toward the remains of what appeared to be a small settlement. The structures were crumbling, overgrown with alien vegetation that seemed to thrive in decay. As they moved cautiously through the ruins, Lyra's heart raced at the thought of what they might find, or what they might not find. Over here, called one of her scientists, pointing to a flickering console half buried under debris. Lyra hurried over, brushing aside vines and rubble. The screen lit up, displaying fragmented data. It's a communication device, she said, her fingers dancing over the controls. But it looks like it's been damaged. A glimpse into the past. As Lyra worked to restore the device, her mind filled with questions. What had happened here? Why had this once thriving world fallen silent? The console sputtered to life, projecting holographic images of the inhabitants, humans. They looked peaceful and happy in their daily lives, completely unaware of the darkness that would soon engulf them. Suddenly, a harsh static interrupted her thoughts. Help. Us. The voice was faint but filled with desperation. Can you trace that signal? Lyra asked her engineer. Working on it, he replied, furrowing his brow as he focused on the screen. After a moment that felt like an eternity, he looked up. It's coming from deeper within the planet's surface. Into the depths. Let's move, Lyra commanded. They gathered their gear and set off toward the coordinates, navigating through twisted metal and shattered glass. The atmosphere grew heavier as they descended into a cavernous opening, a stark contrast to Zorath's vibrant skies. The air was cool and damp, and bioluminescent fungi illuminated their path in eerie shades of blue and green. As they ventured deeper, Lyra couldn't shake off a sense of foreboding. The laughter that once defined her people felt like a distant memory in this dark place. Captain, one of her crew members whispered, pointing ahead. In the distance stood a massive chamber filled with strange machinery, twisted remnants of technology that seemed both familiar and alien. At its center lay a series of capsules connected by thick tubes pulsating with energy. What is this place? Lyra wondered aloud as they approached cautiously. A shocking discovery. As they drew closer, Lyra gasped at the sight before them. Inside each capsule floated human figures, pale and lifeless, suspended in some sort of stasis. A sickening realization washed over her. These were not just victims but prisoners. They're being drained, one of her scientists murmured in horror. Drained for what? Lyra asked urgently as she scanned the room for answers. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber, red lights flashing ominously overhead. We've been detected, shouted another crew member. Everyone back to the ship, Lyra ordered as she grabbed a nearby weapon from a fallen guard. A race against time. They sprinted back through the winding tunnels as echoes of footsteps pursued them from behind. Panic surged through Lyra's veins. They had come to save lives, but now found themselves fighting for their own. Captain, we need to seal off this entrance, One crew member yelled as they reached a narrow passageway leading back to celestial harmony. "Do it," Lyra shouted back as she turned to face their pursuers, shadows emerging from the darkness. The Zorathians had never encountered anything like this before. These creatures were not merely soldiers, but something more sinister, beings driven by hunger for power and control. An unexpected encounter. Just as they reached the ship's entrance, an explosion rocked the ground behind them. Debris fell around them as Lyra pushed her crew inside. "Get us out of here," she yelled at her pilot as she slammed shut the hatch. The ship lifted off just in time to avoid being crushed by falling rubble. As they soared into space, Lyra took a moment to catch her breath and assess her team's condition. "We need to regroup," she said firmly. "We have to warn Zorath about what we found." But deep down, fear gnawed at her. If humanity could be enslaved so easily by these unknown forces, what hope did they have against an enemy that thrived on fear? A message to Zorath. As celestial harmony sped away from the planet's surface, Lyra activated their communication systems. "This is Captain Lyra Ven of Celestial Harmony. We have encountered a dire situation on planet Name. There are humans in captivity, drained for energy by an unknown force." Her message echoed through space as she hoped someone would hear it before it was too late. "We need reinforcements," she added urgently. "We cannot let this happen again." As she gazed out into the vastness of space, Lyra couldn't shake off a feeling that this was only the beginning, a prelude to something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The calm before the storm. Back on Zorath, laughter still echoed among its inhabitants, unaware of the storm brewing beyond their peaceful skies. But for Lyra and her crew aboard Celestial Harmony, fear had taken root, a fear that would soon intertwine with humanity's fate as they prepared for an inevitable confrontation with darkness lurking just beyond their reach. With each passing moment, humanity's resilience would be tested against forces they had yet to understand. A battle where laughter would give way to survival against an enemy that thrived on despair. The human perspective. The Starfire glided through the vastness of space, its sleek frame cutting through the darkness like a blade. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the star-speckled void ahead. She was a seasoned leader, known for her sharp instincts and unwavering resolve. The distress signal they had intercepted from the neighboring planet weighed heavily on her mind. It was a call for help from an unknown civilization, one that had sparked both curiosity and concern among her crew. A mission of protection. "Helmsman, set a course for the coordinates of the distress signal," Ilara commanded, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "We need to assess the situation and determine if there's a threat to Earth." "Aye, Captain," replied Lieutenant Jax, his fingers dancing over the controls. The ship responded smoothly, altering its trajectory toward the unknown. As they approached the planet, Ilara gathered her senior officers in the command center. "We don't know what we're walking into," she began, glancing around at their attentive faces. "This could be a trap or a genuine plea for assistance. Either way, we must be prepared for anything." Tensions rise. The crew members exchanged worried glances. The history of humanity's encounters with alien species had been fraught with peril. Many had ended in conflict, while others had resulted in uneasy alliances. Ilara understood that fear often accompanied the unknown. "Captain," Ensign Rie interjected, "what if this civilization is hostile? We've seen how quickly things can escalate." Ilara nodded, acknowledging Rie's concern. "That's why we'll approach with caution. We'll send out a probe first to gather intel before making contact." As they neared the planet's atmosphere, Ilara felt a mix of anticipation and dread. What lay beneath those swirling clouds? Would they find allies or adversaries? The probe's findings. The probe launched smoothly from Starfire, descending toward the surface like a silver arrow. Moments later, its feed flickered to life on the main screen. They watched as it transmitted images of a devastated landscape, ruins of structures long abandoned and signs of violent conflict. "Captain," Jack said, his brow furrowing as he analyzed the data streaming in. It appears there are remnants of advanced technology here, but it's all in disarray. What about signs of life? Ilara pressed. Minimal, Jax replied, his voice tinged with concern. But there are energy readings coming from deeper within the planet's surface. Ilara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Prepare to land near those energy sources, she ordered. We need to investigate further. A world in ruins. As Starfire touched down on the barren ground, Ilara led her team out onto the cracked surface. The air was thick with dust, and echoes of past chaos lingered like ghosts. They moved cautiously through the debris-strewn landscape, scanning for any signs of life. Over here, Rhea called out, pointing toward what appeared to be an entrance to an underground facility partially buried under rubble. Ilara's heart raced as they approached the opening. What secrets lay beneath? Were there survivors who needed their help? Let's proceed, she instructed, her voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling around them. Into the depths. The team descended into the darkened corridors of the facility, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. As they ventured deeper into the earth, they found themselves surrounded by walls lined with strange symbols and technology that seemed both familiar and alien. This place, it feels like it was once alive, Rhea whispered, her eyes wide with awe and fear. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the facility, echoing off the walls like a siren of doom. Move. We need to find out what triggered that alarm, Ilara shouted as they sprinted down the corridor. They rounded a corner and stumbled upon a control room filled with flickering screens and flashing lights. A holographic display projected images of humans, pale and lifeless, suspended in capsules connected to intricate machinery. What is this? Ilara gasped as she took in the horrifying sight. A shocking revelation. One of her officers stepped closer to examine the controls. It looks like these humans are being drained for energy. But why? Before anyone could answer, another alarm sounded louder than before, followed by heavy footsteps approaching from behind them. We need to get out, now, Ilara urged as she turned to lead her team back toward safety. They'd retraced their steps through the labyrinthine corridors as panic surged within them. The realization that they were not alone on this forsaken planet sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. A desperate escape. Just as they reached an exit point leading back outside, figures emerged from the shadows, armed beings with menacing stares and weapons drawn. Get down, Ilara shouted as she pushed Rhea aside just in time to avoid incoming fire. Gunfire erupted around them as they fought their way back toward Starfire. Ilara's heart pounded in her chest. They had come seeking answers, but were now embroiled in chaos. Cover me, she yelled as she returned fire while moving toward their ship. The team worked together seamlessly despite their fear. They were trained for combat, but had never expected to face such hostility so quickly after landing. A narrow escape. With bullets whizzing past them and chaos unfolding all around, they finally reached Starfire. As soon as they boarded, Ilara barked orders at her crew to initiate takeoff procedures. Get us out of here, she shouted as she secured herself in her seat. The ship lifted off just as another wave of enemy fire rained down upon them from below. They broke through the atmosphere into space once again, leaving behind a world filled with despair and darkness. As they soared away from that haunted planet, Ilara felt a mix of relief and dread settle over her heart. They had escaped, but at what cost? Preparing for confrontation. Once safely away from danger, Ilara gathered her crew in the command center once more. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone understood that this was only the beginning. What we found down there is beyond anything we could have imagined, she began somberly. Those humans, we have to find out who did this to them. But how? Rhea asked quietly. We barely made it out alive. Ilara looked each member of her crew in the eye before speaking again. We need to gather intelligence about whoever is responsible for this atrocity. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. We must act decisively. With determination etched on their faces, her crew nodded in agreement. They would not allow fear to consume them. Instead, they would harness it into something powerful, a drive to protect humanity from whatever darkness awaited them among the stars. As Starfire charted its course for home, Ilara knew that laughter may have faded from their journey thus far, but resilience would light their path forward into an uncertain future where humanity would stand strong against any threat that dared approach its doorstep. First contact. As Starfire drifted away from the haunted planet, Captain Ilara Voss gathered her crew in the command center. The atmosphere was thick with tension and uncertainty. They had escaped, but the chilling images of the human captives and the hostile forces pursuing them lingered in their minds. Ilara knew they had to act quickly. The fate of not just those humans, but potentially all of Earth, hung in the balance. Regrouping and planning. "All right, team," Ilara began, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. "We need to assess what we've learned and formulate a plan. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Lieutenant Jax, still monitoring the ship's systems, looked up. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we gathered from that facility. The energy readings we detected earlier are consistent with advanced technology, far beyond anything we've encountered before." "What do you mean?" Rhea asked, her curiosity piqued. "The energy signatures suggest that whoever is behind this has a significant advantage," Jax explained. "If they can drain life energy from humans, they could potentially overpower us." Ilara nodded, understanding the implications. "Then we need to find a way to counteract that advantage. We have to make contact with those who are still alive and gather intelligence on our enemy." A call for allies. With a plan forming in her mind, Ilara activated the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Ilara Voss of the Starfire. We are reaching out to any surviving human forces or allies in this sector. If you can hear this message, respond immediately." Silence filled the room as they awaited a response. Time seemed to stretch endlessly until finally, a crackling voice broke through the static. "Starfire, this is Commander Harlan of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal and are en route to your location." Ilara felt a surge of hope at hearing another human voice. "Commander Harlan, we have vital information regarding an alien force that is capturing humans for energy. We need your assistance." "Understood, Captain," Harlan replied urgently. "We'll be there shortly. Prepare for potential engagement." The calm before the storm. As they waited for reinforcements, Ilara gathered her crew to discuss their next steps. "We need to be ready for anything when Commander Harlan arrives," she said firmly. "This enemy is unpredictable and dangerous." Rhea spoke up, her voice filled with determination. "We should also consider how we can use our own technology to counteract theirs. If they're draining energy from humans, perhaps we can find a way to disrupt that process." "That's a good idea," Jax agreed. "If we can figure out how they're doing it, we might be able to reverse it, or at least create a shield against their attacks." Ilara felt a flicker of optimism at her crew's resolve. They were not just survivors, they were fighters ready to protect their own. A sudden attack. Just as they finished strategizing, alarms blared throughout Starfire. The ship shook violently as enemy vessels appeared on their sensors. "They found us," Jax shouted as he worked frantically at his console. "Prepare for battle stations," Ilara commanded, adrenaline surging through her veins. The crews sprang into action, manning their stations as Ilara took her place at the helm. She could see multiple alien ships approaching, dark silhouettes against the stars. "Helmsmen, take evasive maneuvers," she ordered as enemy fire lit up space around them. The Starfire swerved and dodged incoming blasts while returning fire with its own weapon systems. Explosions lit up the void as they engaged in a fierce firefight. A desperate struggle. "Captain, we're outnumbered," Rhea shouted over the din of battle. "I know," Ilara replied through gritted teeth as she maneuvered the ship with precision. "But we can't back down now." As they fought valiantly against overwhelming odds, Ilara felt a surge of determination coursing through her veins. They were fighting not just for survival, but for every human life that had been captured and drained by these merciless foes. Commander Harlan's fleet should be arriving any minute. Jax called out amid the chaos. Hold on just a little longer. Ilara urged her crew as she focused on evading enemy fire while targeting their ships with calculated strikes. Reinforcements arrive. Just when it seemed like hope was fading, a fleet of ships emerged from hyperspace. Earth Defense Fleet vessels led by Commander Harlan's flagship, Starfire. "This is Commander Harlan. We're here to assist," came his voice over the comms. Ilara felt renewed strength surge within her as she coordinated with Harlan's forces. Together, they launched a coordinated attack against the alien ships that had pursued them relentlessly. The tide began to turn as Earth's forces engaged in fierce combat alongside Starfire. The combined might of humanity surged against their enemies like a tidal wave. First contact with humanity's strength. Amidst the chaos of battle, Ilara caught sight of one of the enemy ships, their central command vessel, hovering ominously above them, like a dark cloud threatening to unleash destruction. "We need to take out that command ship," she shouted over the noise of explosions and gunfire. Jax nodded vigorously. "If we can disable it, we might disrupt their entire operation." With renewed purpose, Ilara led her team toward an assault on the command ship while coordinating with Commander Harlan's fleet. "Let's show them what humanity is capable of," she declared fiercely as they prepared for an all-out assault on their enemy's stronghold. A clash of forces. As Starfire approached the command ship's defenses, enemy fire rained down upon them once more. But with Earth Defense Fleet reinforcements by their side, they pushed forward undeterred. "We're almost there," Rhea shouted as she targeted enemy turrets while dodging incoming blasts. With one final push, they breached the command ship's defenses and entered its hangar bay amidst chaos and destruction. "We need to find their control center," Ilara yelled as they disembarked from Starfire, weapons drawn and ready for combat. The interior of the command ship was dark and foreboding, and eerie silence punctuated by distant explosions echoing through its halls. A moment of revelation. As they navigated through narrow corridors lined with alien technology and strange symbols, Ilara felt an unsettling sensation wash over her, a sense that something monumental awaited them within these walls. They finally reached a large chamber filled with consoles displaying live feeds from various locations across the planet. And horrifyingly, images of human captives being drained for energy. Ilara's heart sank at the sight. It was worse than she had imagined. These aliens were not just conquerors. They were monsters feeding off lives like parasites. "We have to stop this," she murmured fiercely as she surveyed the scene before them. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber once more, a warning that their presence had been detected. "Prepare for combat," Ilara shouted as armed guards rushed into view from all sides. The fight for humanity begins. With resolve burning bright in their hearts, Ilara and her team engaged in fierce combat against overwhelming odds once again. They fought not only for survival, but also for every soul trapped within those capsules, every life that had been stolen by this malevolent force. As chaos erupted around them, Ilara felt an unbreakable bond forming between herself and her crew, a shared determination to protect humanity at all costs. In that moment of desperation and defiance against overwhelming darkness, she knew one thing. Fear would not win today. Humanity would rise against its oppressors with unwavering strength and resilience. With each passing moment in this battle for survival, a battle that would define humanity's place among the stars, Ilara understood that laughter may have faded into silence, but hope was alive and burning fiercely within them all.